Hello. It's been a while, hasn't it? Yep. I have been talking about this for, I think it was like a month. It's probably 2 months. So, this is my Intro to Foam series. It is supposed to be lighthearted and funny, so I'm going to make an absolute fool of myself on camera, and you are gonna like it. Maybe. I don't know. And take two. So, welcome to my Intro to Foam series. A lighthearted, again, I say lighthearted, take on foam armor and foam anything really, because I mean, once you start working with foam, you never go back, ever. So, I'm just kidding. You probably will go back to sewing. So this is kind of geared towards new cosplayers. So basically I will be talking about all the fundamental things, including, you guessed it, foam, Warbler, and sewable LEDs, and all this fun stuff. So it's going to be probably about, like, I think 4 or 5 episodes. One of them is, like, the safety episode, which I'm not sure how long it's going to be. But we're also going to do cosplaying on a budget, because this is an expensive-ass hobby. And we going to learn how to do it on a budget. See, I have notes here. You can't read them, but I have notes here. We're going to forget all about them. Anyways, so welcome to episode 1, which is so you want to cosplay, but your obsession is armor. A familiar tale of woe and madness. Welcome to the madness. All right, so first thing I'm going to talk about before I get into the many different types of foam, because I do have pretty much almost all thicknesses, we are going to talk about planning and preparation. Now, say for instance, you see this wonderful piece of armor and you're like, oh man, I really want to, we're going to take that over. All right. So, say for instance, you just see something on the internet, and like, I have my phone here. So, say for instance, you see something on the internet, and you're like, oh my god, I want to cosplay this. By the way, he's amazing. So you want to cosplay this, and you're like, man, what do I got to do to cosplay it, right? Because it's like, oh man, that just looks really daunting. I'm going to tell you, it's going to be a little intimidating at first, honestly. But if you start your planning and preparation, it'll make some of these tasks look a lot less daunting. So I'm going to actually show you my cosplay planning book, but you can't read any of it. It's also got my episode guide in here. Haha. So, basically, I don't recommend that you have a cosplay planning book. I just have one. So, for example, like I said, you can't read any of this. But this is my cosplay plans for Pink Mercy, which is a cosplay I did about a year ago. Can't remember. Year ago. Where I detailed all the steps. So I wrote down everything that I wanted to do, because I'm very much the type of person who just gets epiphanies in the middle of the night and just can't remember exactly what I said or what I was going to do. So writing it down kind of helps me channel that idea back into creation. So I can just read and be like, oh, okay, that's what I said I was going to do. Or I can read it and be like, wow, you're crazy. What were you thinking? Ironically, I don't do this every time. In fact, there is actually no space in here for Feyul. Feyul was just a obsession that just kind of went somewhere, and I didn't write down any of it, which was bad. So you don't have to have like a book like this, but it does help to write down your thoughts and ideas. Because you never know, like maybe you got that crazy idea and maybe it'll work out. Another thing that I do is, and I'll take you step by step, but another thing that I do is I take a sketchbook and I sketch out the entire character. This is probably try-harding. I'm going to be real with you. This is probably really trying hard to be something. Because most people use stick figures, but this is kind of like how I do my process. So, like I said, everybody's process is different, but this is what helps me. So generally, I draw the character, I draw the pieces. There's like a lot of glare, so let me see. Generally, I draw the pieces, and I basically go and I take every piece. So for example, I start from like the top down. So for the hood, this is for Cosmic Dusk Zaya, by the way. I did post this on my Instagram, but that was like 2 months ago. And anybody who's clocking or checking me right now knows that I've been talking about this for 2 months and haven't done a thing. But anyways, so at the top, I started with the hood. So in my notes, it's like created like Valera's hood, which is Valera is another project that I put on hold. But similar, like the big hoodie type aspect. So like I was talking about like how the triangle pieces, which you, I'm so sorry you can't see this, but I was like talking about the triangle pieces. Like, okay, I would use 2mm foam. There is like lines in her like hood. Like if you go and look on Timo, or just if you just even play League of Legends, you can just see there's lines on her hood. So like I was like, oh, can I just airbrush the lines to give them a clean look? Same thing with like the ears. I was like, oh, okay, the ears I can either do 4 or 6mm, or I can do like a 4 or 6mm, and then on the end I can do like a plastizote. Oh, I do not have plastizote. Well, actually, I think I do have an example of plastizote. I just have to grab it. But, and then I was talking about, so I like wrote down, I was like, okay, for the lighting, fairy lights, but like blue fairy lights, and then connected to a headband. So like every piece has, you know, their step. I know it's reversed. I'm so sorry. But each step has its like, each step has its own little points, like the scarf, the chest piece, like what kind of millimeter foam I'm going to use, like what are my thoughts on it, like what are the options that I can do, stuff like that. So that's how I do my process. It's very important to have a planning process, because a lot of this can get very complicated very quick. And by sketching, planning it out, you give yourself the opportunity to break it down in parts to make it seem less daunting. Like with Nightmare, which is my friend's cosplay. I imagine, I don't know, he has a different thought process. So like he probably didn't like plan it in the same way that I do. Like I said, everybody has the same process. So, this is just to help the newbies out. You will find your own process as a cosplayer, and that will make you, that will be something that is comfortable for you. But I was just showing my example of what my planning process looks like. Yay! All right, try harding over. Yee! All right. So now we've gotten the planning and preparation phase over with, which, to be fair, like it's a little bit more involved than that, but like I don't, everybody's process is quite different. Anyways, now I get to act like a goofball on camera. So, all right, you ready for this foam? Are you? All right. So, welcome to the foam exhibition showcase. In my hands, I have lovely, lovely TNT brand Cosplay clay foam. There are different types. There are many different brands of clay foam. So, what can you use this bad boy for? Well, you can use this bad boy for pretty much everything. And I do mean everything. So, clay foam is kind of like a relatively new invention. I want to say within like a couple years or so, because when I started cosplay, this was not even a thing, like, at all, which is a shame, so basically, and I don't want to quite open it up yet, because the thing about clay foam is once you open it up, you got to seal it real nice, like, otherwise, and I guess I'm just going to open it up anyway, but otherwise, it will dry out. So you have to be very careful to like seal it up. Otherwise it will in fact dry out. So what does this bad boy do? This bad boy can do everything. It can drive your car. It can wash your clothes. No, it can't. But you can do a bunch of things. You can seal seams in your foam, which I'm going to point out what seams are in relation to foam. So this, and now I have zero light again. There we go. These right here, where these two foam pieces meet, is a seam. This is off of my breastplate for Valera, so it's a little janky because it was my first time doing a breastplate, but these are what are considered seams. So I have to do a little bit more sanding before this is adequate to what I want. So we're gonna go over to this side because this side is a little bit better. So you can take clay foam, just a little bit, dab it up in these seams right here, and then wait for it to dry. So this is important because I was about to be like, oh yeah, sand it down, but no, you need to wait for this to dry and to get hard. So yeah, you definitely want to wait for this to dry and get hard, because if you go and you try to sand this first, it'll just peel up and undo all your hard work. So you definitely want to make sure that you seal these bad boys up. This is what clay foam is generally used for. Now there's a different product that you can use, and I will talk about it in the next episode. You can use quick seal. There's something else too, but my method of choice, which is infinitely less messy, is clay foam. All right. So in addition to sealing, and now I have the glare. Okay. So in addition to sealing foam, you can also make clay foam shapes out of there. So like spikes, just any kind of detail work where cutting it out of normal foam doesn't work. So this has a lot of versatile uses. I cannot remember how much this costs, but in the next episode, we will talk about that. Cosplaying on a budget. I think this is like somewhere like between $9 or $10. This is on TNT Cosplay's website. So this is somewhere like between $9 or $10. I'm pretty sure I just got the small bucket, and I think that's like 9 something. It's not a lot, but when you get to doing your foam projects, a lot of it just kind of adds up, which is, like I said, we will be talking about cosplaying on a budget next episode. So there is one foam that I do not actually have pictured because I don't know where it is. So there is EVA foam, which we are going to get ready to get talking about in a second. And then there's the exercise mat EVA foam. So EVA is basically like a type of foam that's commonly used in exercise mats and everything like that. You actually can just go to Walmart and like pick up an exercise mat. It's like the pretzel type. Let me actually just show you what I'm talking about. All right, so I actually went and got it. So this is going to be kind of a jump, and it's fine. So these are my very first set of Mercy wings, and we will talk about why this is a hot mess in a minute. But this is actually one of my I don't know, I don't say greatest achievements, but I was actually really, really proud of myself considering what I know now. And like, this was baby's first project, and I was just crazy. But anyways, so this is the type of exercise mat that I'm talking about. I actually sand it. So like, there's another wing, because the other wing is an attic, but I actually had to sand this. This is the actual like exercise mat foam. It has like a kind of a textured appearance, so like you can see it. Oh, I did that. You can see on the side the textured exercise mat appearance. So you can get this kind of textured mat from Walmart, believe it or not. I don't remember how much it costs. I think it's like $20 for like 6 sheets, because it's technically like an exercise mat that you puzzle together on the floor. And what you can do is you can actually just go and take an X-Acto knife and cut that bad boy up. The problem with using that is that you will, without a doubt, have to sand it down. Otherwise, you get that extra exercise mat sheen when you're trying to broadcast your cosplay, which I did because I didn't know any better. This one takes a lot of work. So if you've got a Dremel or a Dremel knockoff or reproduction or whatever, you're gonna have to do a lot of extra sanding to prep this kind of foam for use. Not saying that you can't do it, because you totally can, but it just takes a little extra, and it may not look all that good. But I don't know, some people make it work. So a lot of us started with this kind of, and then we graduated to EVA foam, which I get to show you later. This, I don't remember what type of thickness it was, but this was like baby's first project. And you can kind of tell versus like my other projects, which I hope to remake Devil Mercy one day. Like, I probably will. I'm looking forward to it. There's this like wicked glare. All right. I am looking like a freaking anime villain in this video. I'm just going to push up. Hold on. I'm going to push up the glasses. All right. I am an anime villain, and I am telling you to cosplay. All right. That's enough. So, we're going to get into the types of foam and the sizes. And this matters, by the way, because depending on what project that you're doing, you're going to need to know what size foam, what size thickness, and you kind of need to guesstimate how much you need. So I'm not going to be unrolling most of the foam in here, mostly because like it's a pain in the butt to roll up, but I will show you what the thicknesses are. I will tell you what they're commonly used for. Some of it is a little bit of a personal preference. Some people like a little bit more thickness for their armors. Some people like a little bit thinness for their weapon props. It is really all up to you, the consumer or the cosplayer. So I will tell you my personal ones, but we all know that my opinion does not matter or count. You are just watching this to get your information, so here we go. We're going to start with 2mm foam. Now, I have 2mm foam. This is Kanumi's 2mm foam. And the reason why I pulled this out instead of just showing you the TNT Cosplays foam, look at that. Look at that. Is because you can pick this bad boy, and actually you can pick most cosplay foam up, because I literally just saw it at Michael's, y'all. Michael's and Joann's. The reason why I pointed out this particular foam is because you can pick this bad boy up at Joann's. You can pick up, I think it's like 2, 5, 6, and I think that's the highest that you can get, and then in the dowels. All right, we're going to try it this way, because I need to just buy a ring light and stop playing. Anyway, so the reason why, and I'm probably going to repeat myself again until I catch it in post-edit, is that you can literally just go and buy this stuff in Michael's. I actually just saw, Michael's and Joann's. And I think there's another craft store too, but Michael's and Joann's are like unique to me, so I kind of know about them. Michael's has this whole entire setup with like wooden dowels and everything. It is crazy. And they have Warbler, which is another material that I would be talking about later on. But yeah, this is the 2mm. As you can see, it is this thick. You can rip this bad boy. It's terrible. Not terrible, but you can tear it. Wow. But you can tear it. This is generally used, and I'm going to get my notes here. I generally use this for like small detailed pieces that don't need this much thickness. The thing is like if you use this type of foam, you cannot burn it. You will burn right through it, or you have to be very careful about burning it, because as I said, it's very thin. Like, you will burn right through it. So this is not the type of material that you want to sit there and burn on. Another thing to note about the clay foam, because I totally forgot and I knew I was going to forget something, is you can take clay foam to do any kind of intricate details, spikes, like circles, swirls on your armor, any kind of ornamental details that you can't quite use a thing of foam for. You can do that too. And that comes with, like, that comes in the territory of this. Generally, you can use this for strapping. You can actually, so I just found this out the other day. All right, guys, like, all right, bear with me. You can actually sew this because it is so thin that you can just, now, I want to say, yes, you can sew this, but there's like a special needle that you need to get. You can't just use the regular needle. You'll actually mess up your sewing machine. So there's like a certain type, I think it's like a leather needle, like you would use for like sewing leather, that you can use to sew this foam. You have to go very slow though, but this is a thing that you can actually do. Another usage for this type of foam is the Warbler sandwich method, where you basically take this layer, right, and you sandwich the Warbler on. So you fold the edge over and you sandwich the Warbler on. There's two different ways to use Warbler. One is, like, they're both sandwich methods, but one of them is specifically with foam, which does, there's like, I want to say there's an actual reason as to why, but I think that's actually just personal preference, like whether or not you want to squish it with 2 layers of Warbler or squish it with foam. That is all, of course, personal preference. All right, so the next one is, so this is, and I'm using my old scraps of foam for this, because like I said, I do have like a big roll because my closet's full of foam. But this is, I'm pretty sure, 4mm foam. This particular foam right here, if I'm not mistaken, is the HD foam. So there's 2 different types of EVA foam. There is the regular foam, and then there is the HD foam. The HD foam tends to be smoother. It tends to be easier to work with. I think it tends to be easier to work with, and a whole bunch of other stuff that kind of has advantages over it. The only problem is this costs a little bit more, and you have to find people that specifically deal in this. For me, I get my HD foam from SKS Props, which I will put like somewhere on this video. It'll be like right down here or something like that, because I will have links and everything to what I'm talking about in case you don't want to hear me talk for endless amount of times. Or if you're just more more multiple video kind of person, I will definitely put links to like the foams. There are many different retailers. I just happen to use SKS Props and TNT Cosplay. I am not in any way, shape, form affiliated with them. I'm not sponsored by them. I just have used TNT Cosplay for a very long time, and I'm very satisfied with the results. So this is the 4mm HD foam. The big roll that I'm going to show you later on it's like regular foam, but like I said, this is the differences. So I have, where did I put them? See, I knew I was going to do this. What did I do with them? All right, here. This bad boy is still in the package, and you can see it's reversed, but you can see that this is HD foam. So this is the 6mm version. That's what it looks like, thickness and all. That's how you can tell on the end. And then one way to tell, like, if you don't know, is just to take, like, I have like a tape measure, and you can just go in the tape measure and measure out like your millimeters in case you're like, I can't tell that by sight, because I can tell it by sight. Like, I know which one this is. But this is 6mm foam. So I kind of missed it, but all right, let me put up the 4mm again because this is kind of important. So 4mm are usually for armor pieces like bracers. So, like, I whipped out my bracers here. Look at that. Wow, I had this on deck. Look at this. So they're usually used for, I'm like reading my notes, but they're usually used for like bracers, greaves, arm pieces, pretty much anything that's like not too bulky. So generally, like what I said, this is actually 8mm. Yep. So I can't show you this quite yet, but this is generally, so like 4mm is generally for armor pieces like bracers, shoulders. The 6mm is for breastplates. So I'm going to tell you right now on this breastplate that I just totally hid from myself. I think I did not use 6. In fact, I used 4. Now, the general note for breastplates is supposed to be 6 millimeters. Like I said, a lot of these things are very much personal preference. So, so you can see, like, underneath here. I'm going to show you all of my, like, raw tips and tricks so you can actually see. But this is actually, I think this is 4 millimeters. So I made my breastplate out of 4 millimeter. You can generally make your breastplates out of 6. Like I said, the 4 and the 6 is definitely like a personal preference. 6 is generally used for like bulky armor pieces, like shoulders, leg pieces, sometimes like shoe pieces, but the shoe pieces tend to run anywhere from like the 2 to 4 millimeter, generally. And I wish I had an example of it, but all of my examples are like literally 4 millimeter because I'm crazy. All right, so like I said, this is the 6. All right, you with me so far? I know it's a lot. Trust me, like it's a lot. And there, you know, apparently I can't help it, but there's a severe thunderstorm, so I guess I'm just gonna like edit this out. So hi, welcome back, because I had to like totally stop because it's a severe thunderstorm warning. Nature doesn't wait for anybody, apparently. So this is my big roll of foam, the one that's been sitting in my closet, taunting me for about 2 months. So on this end, the reason why I brought it up is because on this end, this is 8 millimeter foam. 8 millimeter foam is usually like that range between 8 and 10 is usually for like props, swords, guns, thick armor, but generally because of how thick it is, it usually isn't used for armor. I keep saying this, but it is definitely personal preference, but this is like 8 to 10 to 12, actually 8 to 12, because I'll show you what 12 looks like, is definitely props territory. So to give you an example of how the 8 millimeter looks and works, I will show you this. This is my Valera shoulders, which they were in mid treatment. I kind of just stopped on Valera for reasons unknown. It's probably called fickleness. Anyway, so this is 8 millimeter foam. Actually, I wonder if this is 10. I'm pretty sure this is 8. It's either 8 or 10. But you can see like the level of thickness, and everything like that. So you get kind of like a good picture of like what to expect from that kind of foam. This is 10. Like I said, weapon props. I personally used 8 and 10 respectively to build my Fable wings. So these were the kind of sizes that I used. So this is 10. And last but not least, this is, oh my God, this is 12. This bad boy is reserved for my hunting horn, which I have no actual reason to be making that, but I am. All right. So, and okay, 12, I said it was weapon props. Like, so 12 is usually large shapes. Like anything that needs to be really reinforced, because 12, like I said, the thicknesses of the center of it is very, you know, it's very subjective and everything like that. All right, so this, pardon my progress, I guess, because these were Valera's daggers, and I'm going to come back to it eventually, but this white stuff is plastizote. This is called the LED foam. You might have heard about the LED foam. It's commonly known as the transparent or the translucent foam. Not transparent, because obviously, okay,